I can't really remember what Jay-Z said verbatim, but it's basically don't let anyone project their fears on you. You know, when I opened this gallery, even the thought of opening a gallery, I had family and friends, and I lost friends who didn't see the value in what I wanted, didn't see my vision, and that's okay. It's my vision, right? And so, but that fear that they tried to project on me, it didn't stop me. And a lot of times it stops people from pursuing their dreams and pursuing their passion, and they get stuck in a career that they're miserable in, that they're depressed, and they don't feel like they have any self-worth. This is my worth. This is my family's legacy. It doesn't even feel like work to me. I enjoy it. It's fulfilling. There's a purpose there. And so if you find that purpose, that fear and all the negative, comments that come behind it or the hate, I'm focused. I'm laser focused on building here. So whatever you're thinking and saying, I sage you down, I sage me down, I'm protected, right? So
jabs don't do shit.
Yeah. So don't let people project their fear on you.
What up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Cosign Conversations. As you can see, we're not at Cosign Loft. We do not have the Nipsey Hussle artwork behind us today, but we are still in Dallas. We're at DAISHA Board Gallery, which is founded by this amazing woman who I'm so honored to call a friend, Miss DAISHA Board. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Man, it's been a pleasure. Quick story. I can't remember exactly how or where we met, but something that sticks in my mind is meeting you. I want to say it was at, not Capital Factory. I think like the first time we actually had a conversation was like a deck or Capital Factory type of event, but it wasn't at their location. It was like uptown. I think they had Morgan of Blavity there.
Right.
I can't remember what that event was called.
Yeah, it was Dallas Startup Week.
Dallas Startup Week.
I curated that space down there.
And that was like the first time we actually had a conversation. And what intrigued me is, like I was telling Suki, is that, we've grown up being a fan of art. Like, people telling you in school to take art, to learn about it, but we don't really appreciate it. Right. And as I got older and I started to get my own house and my own studio, my own loft, I look at art differently, right? But before we even get into your story and your journey, I kind of want to know, when did you fall in love with art?
It's that question, like from Love and Basketball?
Love and Basketball. When did you fall in love with hip-hop?
Brown Sugar. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I went to a black college. I'm a graduate of HBCU, Bethune-Cookman College at the time, but now it's university. And I studied political science, African-American studies. And going to a black college, coming from a predominantly white high school here in Arlington, and I'm from New York originally, so art was always around me. My grandparents collected art, but I never really had an appreciation for it until I went to a black college.
Gotcha.
When I started really learning more about myself and my history and how powerful we are as a culture. So learning about Faith Ringgold and Alma Thomas and Gordon Parks, I mean, those were just everywhere, a part of our lessons. So, and then, going after college, learning more about the arts through visiting museums and galleries. But never really had a passion to create a business for it, at that time. It was just more of a interest.
Right. And it's crazy when you find your passion and then later on you're able to, figure out how to monetize it, right? But it starts with the love first.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Everything starts with the love. And what's interesting to me about art, in which I've had conversation around, is, how do you put a value on it though? Right. That's the difficult thing.
There's no cap.
Right. I mean, it's an unregulated industry still. I think we have an advantage because I'm actually working with other professionals that have that knowledge. And so I work with an appraiser who helps me assess the value of the works prior to. I look at prior sales history of the artist. I try to level them up to other industries that are doing well within their medium. So like, for instance, in real estate, you have your comps to kind of measure the value of your house. That's how we set an appraised value on the piece. I'm looking at other artists within their same genre, category, maybe age range, or maybe even pedigree, just to determine a base number. And then we discuss it, So the goal is to make it very moderate for these entry-level artists, but then also not to undervalue the art either.
Gotcha.
Art's an asset. It's a tangible asset. And so the more conversations we have around the value of art when it comes to, building legacies and creating generational wealth for ourselves, I have to inform my buyers on the process of how I set the pricing. So, but it's just not a random number I throw out there.
Gotcha.
That's great for you to be in this line of business, because a lot of you mentioned up and coming artists. So, they're going in not knowing the ins and outs. So just having a safe space, or having safe conversations with somebody who actually is willing to put others on and to actually guide them and direct them into a more positive way, instead of just being money greedy with the money and just say, listen, your work is great. Give me this. I'll put it in here.
Yeah, and I think that's where the challenge has been for a lot of these artists. They obviously are underrepresented and undervalued, and so when they go into these other galleries that really don't understand their narrative of their body of work, and they just throw a price on there, and that's it. It's just a number for them.
And then they get nothing after that.
Yeah, and so it's harder for them to trust, working with someone who has been, very inconsistent, with being an ally, to them and to what they're producing. So here we're partners with my artists. I want to sit down and have a really good conversation about what are your goals? Where do you see yourself? Because your journey may not be the journey that, I would want you to go on here, but I'm here to kind of guide you in something that is outside of the box for you.
And every
that's
artist,
a level of trust that has to happen with that.
Every artist is different. Like, we're in your gallery right now. So
yes.
Tell me a little bit how that happens with, because currently, who are you showcasing?
So this is Ni Naruku Thompson, and he's a Ghanaian-born artist based here in Dallas. I met him at a group show about a year and a half ago, and loved his work. And group shows, you're competing with 50 plus other artists. Sometimes only one piece is selected, and so it's very rare that you have opportunity to really talk about your work. And so I try to go around and meet the artists, especially if there's work that catches my eye, and introduce myself and learn more about their process. And they really appreciate that. Like, damn, like, you really want to sit down and talk about it? Let's talk, And meeting him was just amazing. And then I put him in another group show just to get his name out there some more and see what the response would be. And people really gravitated towards his work, and we kind of discussed having a solo show here at the gallery. So this is his first solo show ever in Dallas.
Oh, wow.
It's beautiful.
What's your selection process like to basically host somebody's solo show?
Yeah. So prior to me opening the gallery, because I was so intentional about going to these non-traditional spaces to meet the artists, I pretty much had my calendar booked before I even opened my doors for the first year. I already knew who I was going to exhibit. And then going into it, social media is obviously a huge platform for these artists to share their work. And so I'm just constantly reaching out to them, or they'll reach out to me and send me their work. I haven't officially had an open call because, we're just booked and blessed, I'm booked till 2024.
That's
third quarter 2024. So,
that's amazing.
But that just, shows you these artists are hungry, and they're willing to be presented in a space that really supports them and advocates for them. So
I think what's interesting is, we see people at a certain level. Like, people see you now and you're well known in this space, right? But it wasn't always like that, right? So how does somebody curate their journey into, the art world, art space? Like, where should they go? Where are who should they meet? Like, if you're walking somebody who wants to, be your apprentice, wants to shadows you, what does that look like to kind of help them get to your level?
Right. My journey coming into this wasn't pretty at all, because I don't have an art background. Art has always been an industry that is for the elite or a certain demographic of people, and we just weren't there. And so a lot of the spaces that I was in, I was typically the only Black person there, and I didn't know who to reach out to. And so I started going to the African American Museum, and I met Jennifer Monet Cali, who now I represent, which is a complete 360. Like, literally meeting her and seeing her in a powerful position as a curator at the African American Museum. Just talking to her about the history of Dallas. What did it look like, as far as Black women-owned spaces, Black-owned spaces? What was our journey like? And she's such a great historian, so she she literally told me we only had one other Black woman-owned gallery, which was in Deep Ellum. Her name is Stephanie Ward. She's not in the art business any longer, but that was 30 years ago when we had a Black
too damn
woman-owned art
long.
gallery.
Yeah.
And they pushed her out of there, with gentrification. Deep Ellum
Deep
was,
Ellum, of course,
that was
especially
a
at that time.
hub of
Yeah.
creative energy. That was like the Harlem of Dallas. Like, Black people were present and had
changed a lot.
businesses
Yeah.
and it's changed. And that's what happens. These areas that are being gentrified, they want the culture, but then they don't honestly want to support these Black and brown minority-owned businesses, right? And so we have to keep them here, really make sure that we have a place in the community. But it wasn't pretty. The other gallerists that I would talk to, they didn't want to share any information with me. And then you have some gatekeepers, within this industry as well that damn sure didn't, appreciate me even asking, right? Or, do Black people buy art? Well, yeah, everyone buys art.
Right.
So what's the problem, And then there were some elders, some other people I reached out to that they're comfortable being maybe the only Black person in the space and didn't want to embrace a new, younger perspective. And that was challenging because you want to be able to say, hey, I would love to be your apprentice or learn more about you because you're a Black person in this space. And they're not very willing to do that either, So
I want to talk about that.
yeah, that was a struggle because I
you're
was
the
hurt. I was like, what?
Because you're the only Black woman-owned gallery,
Yes.
right? So some, depending on how they perceive life, would look at it as an advantage, right? I know, but you're about the culture and want to help, right?
Oh,
so
for sure.
So how do you combat how the people before you didn't want to let people in? Like how I guess are you helping others to get into the industry?
Yeah. I mean, I can use those lessons and turn them around to create a space that I feel is more inclusive. What they did was powerful, I'm sure, and what they're continuing to do is powerful. But this is a new generation of collectors, of art enthusiasts, and technology is a huge innovative mechanism that we use for our platforms and social media, and they may not have that advantage. I do, and then I'm also able to move in different spaces, because I'm truly authentically myself. I'm not trying to assimilate to be who you want me to be. And so I love that. I love being a disruptor in this industry now. Come with it. But we have space for all of us to win. I damn sure don't want to be the only Black person, Black woman in this space.
Not to even throw any shade, but I feel like with other galleries, it's almost becoming, because like you said, this is a new generation. It's almost as if they're trying to appeal an aesthetic, not the art, but the aesthetic of things. Like there's not much behind the art that they're trying to present anymore. It's more for like a photo op or just for the moment, like a snap or for a post, a post.
A scramble moment.
Yeah.
And for me, just being in here, getting the setup, you can tell that there's so much more deeper meaning to the artists that you're even showcasing and holding. It's almost, as soon as I stepped in, you could tell it's an honor for this to be on your wall today.
Yeah. But that's a part of us changing the conversation. Like I said, art is for everyone. And if you are already intimidated by it, and if you're, in a space and you want to take a selfie, that's dope. But I want you to also learn about this art, learn about these mediums and the technique. And, you'll realize when you open yourself to something that's different, and uncomfortable, you may have something that you truly resonate with. I've had people sit in here and look at art and start crying, because it's triggering a moment or memory that was either, they were fond of or it hurt them when they saw it in art. That's okay. We don't have enough of those spaces where we feel safe enough to share those emotions. We're stressed out with work and kids and families and
life.
Our spouses, right? This is a safe space to come in and really and truly enjoy art, and not just for the gram.
Not
for the gram.
have you? No, exactly. No, that's why I asked, because I've been to a lot of art shows, and to be honest, it's always a different crowd. Like, there's the stand buyers, the one who are actually looking for pieces to take home, someone who's actually looking for a connection out of the art piece because of where they're currently resonating with in their lives. And then there's others who are they don't understand the weight that art holds, not just in our culture, but in everyone's daily lives. Like even just going from music to an actual art piece.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for me it goes hand in hand. But I wanted to get back because you mentioned seeing someone come in before and getting a little emotional. Have you had that experience before?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who, just from, you can give me one, but
Yeah. So one of the first artists that I saw who I truly felt connected to was Cedric Huckabee, and he's out of Fort Worth.
okay.
Amazing portrait artist. I mean, phenomenal, large scale works. They're like 15 feet. I mean, huge. And it was all of his family, like his wife and his children. And I have an image of my daughter. She was about maybe 7, standing in front of a large portrait. Like that's what she wanted to see. She's just like, Mommy, there's nothing out here that you're showing me that I can truly resonate with, or I can truly understand as a Black child or a Black girl. But to see that portrait and to be deeply connected to it was powerful. So I said, we exist in this space. We've always existed in this space, and to have an artist right here in our backyard who's doing phenomenally well, and to see the power of his work was just it was
moving.
Yeah, it was moving. That's when I decided, like, this is more of a purpose.
Yes.
It's not just a passion, it's my purpose. Like, there's something driving me to this art. There's something driving me to helping people understand how powerful that connection is, and really start investing in ourselves. Yeah.
I equate a lot of everything to sports, specifically basketball, right? So there's a lot of artists. I mean, you'll see like culturally curated art shows mixed with fashion shows in the city. People are just trying to get their name out, just trying stuff, right? And I look at that as, like the open gyms, right? You're just out there getting your runs up, your shots up. You just want to get discovered. When it comes to art, how do we go from that to the league, right? To being represented, to getting solo shows, to working with somebody like you? Like, how do they go from them open gym runs to the league?
Right. Well, I think we're a full package here. We're building. This is early stages of the gallery, but I think having someone who truly believes in you, who understands your narrative, who supports you. A lot of times these artists, they are either full-time artists or they're working a full-time job and they're doing art part-time, and they want to be a full-time artist. So how can I make this business a sustainable business for you? Well, I got to work. I got to hustle. I got to be out there and talking to collectors, talking to corporations, going to contemporary art fairs, talking to curators to really amplify, talking to the press, to get your name out there. That's how your value increases. And so working with that model and really helping them understand the growth, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. This isn't Jay-Z. I'm not,
and you can't do it for them either.
You know what I'm saying? But still, it's a growing process together, and I'm very upfront and honest when it comes to that. I'm not going to make you $1 million overnight, but I'm going to work my ass off for you. And so,
you should too.
But I'm proud of that. Like, we placed over 300 works of art this past year in personal and private collections, 2 museum collections. Went to Art Basel this year. And so all of that adds value to these artists, and not only to the gallery, but to the artists, I plan on going international within the next year. So, God willing.
You better say it. Okay,
it's already put out there.
Yeah, you're putting that out there. We manifest international.
Facts, but it's a growing process, but educating the artists, educating my collectors, educating the general public, that's important. So they can be a part of it too.
That's a good point. Out of all those, who's the hardest to educate?
Ooh,
I was going to say general public. Who do you think?
Actually, that's been easy.
Okay.
Like right now, 90% of my collectors are new collectors. So all of the collectors who I've had before, they're pretty much set in what they like. I'm giving them opportunities to see new works and add to diversity into their collections. But I think it's the artists, because they build up this shield, which is important because they're protecting their craft, they're protecting their passion and their art. And so they don't want to be taken advantage of. And there are some, money-hungry gallerists out here that take 50, 60% of their earnings, but then they only do 10% of the work. There's no press. There's no artist talk. There's no, opening receptions. There's none of that.
I feel like for the art industry too, it can be very judgmental because it's all, for me, I believe it's to the eye.
Oh yeah.
Your art piece to one person could look childish,
Yeah.
beginner
Right.
level,
Right.
and then to somebody else, it could be,
Right.
oh my God, I've
Right.
never
It's the
seen
most beautiful
anything
thing.
like this. It has so much meaning to it, and I mean, it's just wild how. I mean,
Yeah.
it's for me, I would be stressed.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, I want you to come in here with, dialogue and tell me what you feel about it, and we respect the art. I tell people all the time, this isn't a place where we're going to talk about, bringing down or trying to negotiate. Can I get it for 1,000? No, it's listed at 3,500.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
not doing that at Gucci. You're not doing that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
you're gonna pay full price.
Say that again,
There's a worth
please.
and a value to what I'm providing, and so I'm not here to dwindle down the amount of that the art is worth, and it's worth more. That's
Have
that's
you
a number.
had an artist where you provide their like, look, we're gonna set this at 35K, and then your artist is like, no, man, I go a little lower. I feel like this isn't because
Yeah.
there's some artists that also want it to be affordable for their community. So.
Yeah, and so and that's one thing that we're very conscious about as well. So we'll have works that start off, maybe smaller works or works on paper at a lesser price point. But like I said, we model it after the market. And so explaining that to them, a lot of times they're okay with it, but there are some artists who wanted their works valued at a higher price point.
Right.
And I wasn't agreeing to that, but we set it, at that price point, and they did okay, But it's a learning process. It's a learning curve too. You are very confident in your work, and I don't want to undervalue it, but
Right.
I also want to protect the value of the work and not overprice it where it's not affordable. And that's a conversation a lot of people tend to have. You have works that are really high price points. Well, I don't know what's in people's pockets,
Right.
I don't discriminate.
Right.
I have collectors that are on fixed incomes that make it a priority. They've made it a priority now to say, DAISHA, I want to invest art with you. So I'm setting aside $200 a month so I can buy my first piece, by the end of the year. That's what I'm talking
like
about.
that. Yeah, where can
And
I
then I
sign
have
up?
collectors that have, a lot of disposable income. Like Dallas is a market right now where we have the youngest, millennial millionaires here in Dallas. So I'm loving that because they're conscious about how they're spending. Some of them,
Investments,
they're in investments, they're in crypto, they're in real estate, they're traveling, they don't have children, all these things. And so we have to open up the conversation to, well, art is an asset. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
Let's
Let's get into
actually-
that.
yeah,
Because you
let's-
mentioned that earlier, art
Yeah.
is an asset. So
Yeah.
what type of asset is it to you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's tangible.
sure.
It's non-comparable to the Rolexes and the designer brands. All that stuff depreciates. Even the cars that we drive, as soon as you
course.
drive it
Yeah.
off the
Drops a
lot,
lot.
it depreciates in
The
value.
longevity.
Yeah. But what I suggest is to talk to an investment banker, Goldman Sachs, or even go to your bank and say, hey, do you have a legacy department where we can start talking about my investments? And they'll be more than willing to. A lot of these smaller banks, they have those type of divisions. But yeah, you have to set aside these portfolios. I see it all the time with the rich. They leverage that. That's their capital right there. Their art, their real estate. When they get divorces, that's what they're fighting over: art and real estate. Like, forget the kids. Like, I want the art. I want
Keep
the
the
land.
car, keep the watch.
Yeah. But just opening it up to that dialogue. We plan on having a conversation with some professionals, artists, art investors, insurance companies that will actually insure your art, because you can't just insure it through like Geico or State
Right.
Farm. There's specific fine art insurance companies to work with. And then also like my legacy account builders at Goldman Sachs to be able to come in and really give you all of the information that you need to set up your portfolio.
Would you consider it like a, like when it comes to real estate, there's short plays and there's long plays. Is art considered like a long play, like something like a buy and hold situation?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely hold on to it. I mean, I have works that were passed down to me, things that I've collected. I have no desire to sell it right now on secondary market. I'm watching the artists. I want them to grow, and part of their growth is sharing what I have with you, and
Right.
saying, "Hey, this is an amazing artist. You might want to consider investing in his work, or her work. We see great things, and working with the gallerist who is actively pushing these artists to be in these spaces to help elevate their value is important too. So, I just want to make sure that we have the ability to, give all that good education out there.
I'm glad you said all this because, like we talked about earlier about social media and the gram, and people see you hosting amazing receptions and events, but you do so much more than that. Like you're really out here campaigning
Yeah.
for these artists and and taking these meetings. Just give us I mean, you said it already, but like, what's your day to day like though? Like, if somebody wanted to pull up on you, what's your normal day?
Do you start with coffee or tea?
I start with meditation
Okay.
to get my day right. But I do love a good coffee. Coming in here after getting my kids off to school, I'm a late starter, so my husband handles a lot of that morning routine with them. But get into the gallery, checking emails, returning emails because they get crazy right now. Checking in with some of my collectors and appointments, but being rooted in the community is also extremely important. So I think initially when we first started, my goal was to have a space in an area like this. And this just kind of felt, it was really a divine alignment because I looked everywhere in the design district and downtown, uptown, and that's where they try to make it very difficult for me to be there by pricing me out. But it was meant for me to be here because people drive by and they see us and they do a loop and they come in and they're like, wow, this used to be, an auto facility in here. Yeah, he used to do scrap metal and awnings and all kinds of stuff. And he had the space for like 40 years. So a lot of people who are familiar with West Dallas know this area. But yeah, having a space is just really important to make sure that I have a hand in what's going on in the community.
It's great you talk about community. I seen that you were a part of the Mavs first business cohort.
Yes, yeah. Uh-huh.
So how was that? What made you want to apply for that program?
The mentorship opportunities. Okay. Being here in this space and being one of the only Black women in this space, I needed to meet other, women like myself, out here and entrepreneurs, and we have the same struggles, and then also being with the Mavs organization, Black woman CEO, right? And so to have a space with them was just an honor. It's been tremendous. And then they have a platform that they have partnered with called The Lonely Entrepreneur. It's an app. And they have, different sessions that you can get in on, whether it's legal, advertising, social media, how to set your business plans, how to apply for grants. I mean, all of the stuff that I probably would have hired someone to do, I'm learning how to do myself. I need to do that as a business owner and entrepreneur. I need to know how to, create the spreadsheet. I need to know how to, pay my taxes. I need to know, just in case, when I'm hiring these people to do it, that they're doing it right. Right. And I can ask the right questions. And so being a part of this inaugural cohort, it's just been really informative. I mean, I'm meeting so many amazing VPs and other business owners. They brought Coca-Cola in last week, some of their execs in different departments, and just hearing their story, and then them hearing mine and working together. That's what this community is for. So
that's amazing. I attended my first cohort last year. I did it with the deck, and I'm like, man, I'm late to the game. Like, business owners have been doing this for such a long time, and it's kind of helping them get ahead because they're getting these relationships, having these resources, and meeting executives that we probably just couldn't walk up to on a random day to meet. Absolutely. So it's extremely important that people look into them, and a lot of organizations host them. Mavs had one, Goldman Sachs, you mentioned earlier, they have one. It's really just getting out there, do your research, and figuring out which program aligns for you and applying. Yeah. But I definitely recommend entrepreneurs at least try some type of accelerated program or cohort. I've gotten clients from the last one. Yeah. So it's been nothing but like an upside from that.
For me, it's been huge knowledgeable because I struggled with, I'm so low key, I struggled with actually wanting to ask questions. Stepping my foot through that door, asking the bank, hey, what do I have to do to start my business? What do I have to do that? So I love that even with what you currently are doing for your artists individually, I feel like it goes hand in hand with the two.
And what you're learning, you're able to pass and share on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, we all can win. I invested a lot of my own money, our family, into this business. I didn't get any loans. I didn't have I actually went and they denied it. I didn't have 10 years tax returns in a business. Well, no, because I was employed, right?
10 years?
Yes, $1 million tax returns in some of these spaces. Yes, it was very discriminatory. Wow. Yeah, and that's the barrier that we have as Black entrepreneurs. We don't have access to that funding and that capital because they don't see the value in what we can contribute.
Yes.
You know, we're buyers. We go out and spend money and make other entities rich.
Right.
But to make ourselves wealthy, they make all of these
Hurdles.
hurdles for us to cross over. So now knowing that there's an immense amount of monies out there that it's available, well, putting me in the right spaces to get this, that's important, and asking the right questions. And then, if I find out something, I'm gonna let everyone else know. Listen,
Have you
apply for this.
have you ever came across an artist who, just kind of wanted your guidance or advice on certain things, and they were just like so damn stubborn? You're just like, look, I cannot. Look,
Come on now.
like push and shove. Look, I can't help you. You got to help yourself. And they don't even
That's
want
a
to
whole
help
nother
themselves. To be
conversation.
honest.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with so many different personalities, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a trust thing, and then it's leaning into the unknown. A lot of them are pretty stuck in their ways or afraid of the unknown. Afraid to really succeed. They kind of set like these lines of, okay, I don't want to cross this line yet. I'm comfortable here. Well, me being comfortable is not how you want to be comfortable. And so we have to have a really honest conversation. That's why it's important for me to understand, what this journey looks like for you. Because you may just want to be a festival artist. There's a difference
It could
between
be
a
a
festival
business or
artist
personal.
or a gallery represented artist. How you handle your business, is similar, but it's just a different level within like the ladder for you to reach as a fine artist, going into institutions, into private collections. Like you may not have that opportunity if you're selling your art on the street at a festival, right? And so, but just having those uncomfortable conversations. But yeah, those artists are there. They're definitely like, no, you know what, this is not for me. Well, then it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not for you, right? And when you're ready, if the opportunity is there, then maybe you'll jump on it. But I can't wait.
Right.
I want you
wanna
to
ask
be
about
confident.
art.
Okay, yeah, not for sure.
Can I ask, what is your intake? Because you mentioned art base. You recently just went.
Yes.
How was that experience for you?
It was so dope.
You liked
it was so dope.
See, I get
loved
mixed
it.
reviews, so I'm here asking because
I
loved
think
it.
it's like how they go. Some people go just to
some go to
spectate,
some just to go party and
Well,
stuff.
I mean, that's what we do, right? And even with these contemporary art fairs, they've been so like
Extravagant
straight.
over.
No, they've been very reserved, white boxes. Like I said, limited amount of color in there. But then you have Miami, and you add the color, you add the flavor, you add the richness of the culture, the music, the fashion, the parties. That's a part of the experience. So I don't want to knock that,
Yeah.
And then you have people who are going out and spending thousands of dollars on art. And then you have people that are just there for the parties and the panel conversations. It's different for everyone, but it was a great experience for us, being that it was our first time going, my first time ever being presenting art, but just being in that space at that time was powerful because we met so many amazing curators and museums, and being that we were a part of PRISM, which is a Black woman-owned contemporary art fair that she's had in the city of Miami for over 10 years. That's power.
Yeah.
That's important for us to be in that space. And I applied to 4 different fairs and only got accepted to hers. Yeah, because you got to apply. Like you applying to college, like it's
Yeah,
the
I know, that's
application,
wild.
and it's thousands of dollars.
I was there's a fee with them?
Yes, non-refundable. Yes, and so they apply it to, if they accept you, they apply it to like your booth rental, which is upwards to, people were paying $50,000, $60,000 for just the booth.
But it's worth it though.
Yeah, it is. It is. In my case, it was. Like I said, we were a part of such a phenomenal art fair with PRISM. She made it very clear that she was going to introduce us and put us in these spaces. And so she invited like the MoMA and the Met and the Brooklyn Museum and the Smithsonian curators to come and see us. That's important to have that, those eyes on what we're doing in this space.
People in position. Yeah, I love
Had
that.
I been at one of the larger fairs, I don't think I would have gotten that recognition or even that appreciation to be,
And
included
don't
in
knock
that
the small
conversation.
groups now. 'Cause that's where you can really, that's where I
shine,
love more
yeah.
intimate settings for sure. I always say that.
It was about maybe 30 Black-owned gallerists and other artists from the African diaspora that she focuses on. And it was powerful. There were artists, contemporary, major artists that came to visit, and collectors. And yeah, it's been great. I can't wait to go back.
If an artist isn't able to meet someone as lovely as you for while they're in their journey, how would what do you suggest, or how would you go about marketing that artist?
Well,
or how would you
have to get out of your comfort zone. You know, a lot of artists are they
Or
focus
networking,
on
I guess.
networking. They focus on their art, and that's it. It's hard for them to go out and speak, you know, in public settings or introduce themselves. But you have to get out of your own head, you know, and get out there and start networking with other artists. Introduce your work. Closed mouths don't get fed. You know, introduce your work to these galleries, and if they have open calls, apply for them. You know, I'm very intentional about putting things out there, even for other spaces, because I know there's opportunities for you, especially spaces that I co-sign. Like that. You know, like, I'm gonna say, if I can't show you here, hey, this gallery in Fort Worth is dope. Call them. Those are my people over there, right? And so, but we're building that community, I think, slowly. They're trusting, you know, what we're doing here, and they know I'm all about my word. My word is my bond. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm vetting anyone, you know, before I'm sending you over there to them. If they're not aligned with our goals and our mission, then hey, that's not the space you need to be in. But yeah, get out your own head, get out there, have your portfolio together, have your CV. It doesn't have to be ultra like tight packaged, but just have something presentable and follow up. You know, if you are given an opportunity to present your work, follow up. You know.
Before we ask you who you co-sign, you know, Kanye said it best that artists are sensitive about their shit. You know what I'm saying? Artists are sensitive about their shit. And I've always...
That was Erykah Badu.
Yeah, I was about to say, Erykah said
That was Badu. That was Badu, baby.
Let's correct them. Let's
Well, I mean, what Kanye said, though? Kanye said something else. He said...
Kanye said a lot.
Yeah, he said a lot. My bad, but that was bad. Okay. Y'all forgive me out there. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that was Badu. Queen Badu said that.
Right.
And then, you know, there's another saying that, you know, you got to get out your feelings. Ain't no money there. Right? But art is such an emotional thing. Just like, you know, music, it's all grouped into art. Like, what do you tell these artists, or like, you know, because they want to make money, but you got to get out your feelings. Even in business, I'll be honest, I'm emo sometimes when it comes to business. I take things personal, but you really can't. You know, business is a contact sport. Art, you know what I'm saying, you can't take it personal. So how do you...
Pouring their heart on a canvas. So like, how is it?
Right. I think, I mean, literally because of the work that we're putting in here at DAISHA Board Gallery, I want them to leave with something, you know, and it doesn't have to be the sale. You're going to leave with something more powerful than a check.
Right.
I'm going to give you a check. I'm going to make sure that you earn some money out of this show, but you're going to leave with something much more. And they're feeling that, you know, all of them are coming back and saying, Daisha, this has been the most rewarding experience of my life. I felt seen, you know, I feel heard, you know, I'm appreciated. I've seen kids come in here, you know, and resonate with my work. That's powerful to me. Like you said, people are, you know, they're telling me that the work is important and they see value in my work. And I think that's more important than, you know, passing a check off to them. But I try to get them to realize that first, you know, think about the moment, you know, the time that we're in right now and how important your perspective and your narrative will be. And for that child to be inspired or that adult to be inspired to go out and create now, and, you know, you're giving something to someone. It's a spiritual connection when it comes to art. The money will come, you know, don't chase after it, don't run after it, it will come. What's meant for you will happen. And so, keeping that mindset of being rooted in what's in your heart first, I think that's the joy, having those relationships, for sure.
No, they're extremely important.
That's that rich spirit.
It's coming. You know, blessings flow in all ways, you know, whether it's press, engagement. I mean, you know, like I said, the child coming in here and telling me they want to put their art on this wall one day, you know, bringing me their portfolios at 7 and 8, you know, their parents seeing me on the news or in interviews and they're like, I want you to meet her. That's important. That's
exactly.
Yeah, that's power.
That's how you build the community.
Yep.
That's love. And I would like to make sure our audience leaves with something tangible. A lot of our audience are entrepreneurs, as you may know. And hold on, I don't even think we talked about this. I'm gonna drop this real quick though. She did win a co-sign award 2022.
Yes. What?
You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing. That's why we're here. Had to show love. But I try to leave with like some tangible things, you know, artists could take with, like being entrepreneurs, they look for new stuff, whether it's to invest or to, you know, expose themselves to. Of course, we talked a lot about real estate, opening a new business, and we talked about investing in art. But people also like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, right? So we talk about disposable income. Let's say, I'm gonna do a nice round number of 5K, right? Somebody walked in here and said, hey, I have 5K. I have no idea where to start. You know, this is what kind of question are you asking them? What is it, how does your place look? What are you into? How do you even get them started or get their mind open to know what they may like? Because we don't know if we don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing. I mean, a lot of the collectors that I have now are new collectors. They had no knowledge of art whatsoever. The art they bought was TJ Maxx, Home Goods,
Exactly.
Target.
For sure.
What it is, IKEA, I bought art there too before.
Right.
But when you open up the conversation, and I'm like, well, what do you think about this piece? Tell me what your thoughts are. And if they have a connection to it, then we'll expand on that. Well, hey, these are artists that I would recommend you looking at. Not necessarily here. I'll point them in the direction of other artists to kind of research. Go to this museum, check out this, exhibit over there, and just kind of gaze and see, what you're drawn to. And then if you have a multitude of appreciation for different mediums, then we'll talk about those artists. But I try to personalize it to, what you feel, what you want to see in your home, and removing those other non-energetic pieces out and start really thinking about things that will bring you energy and bring you joy, and that will be a legacy for your family. That's changing that conversation. You can invest $200 in an original piece. You get a certificate of authenticity. My stamp is on it. My appraiser stamp is on it. You have an opportunity to revisit the gallery and, learn more about the process of this artist and where they're going. Like, I want you to be just as much a part of this investment as I am into the investment with you. So, it's been great. I think that coverage of saying you're safe here, you can ask questions. The work is printed on our it's on our website. It's listed. The value of the work is there. I'm not trying to hide it. Why?
Right.
That's the price. Just having that accessibility is important, and then being open to an honest conversation about it.
Tax season coming up, y'all.
Yeah.
But that brings to a great point. We've talked about, the business of art, appreciation, a little bit of your journey. And of course, like I said, we co-sign you co-sign a different artists, but like, if you had to introduce somebody to something new, whether it's an artist or another gallery, who does DAISHA Board co-sign?
DAISHA Board?
Facts.
No, I'm rooting for everybody Black.
That's Issa Rae. I know that one.
That's Issa Rae. There's some spaces and some allies here who I really love and support. The Modern in Fort Worth is a dope museum. They always have great contemporary Black artists there. Very provocative works, thought-provoking works. 500X is an artist-run space out here that I support and co-sign. I love what they're doing. The city of Dallas has so much potential, and if we get out of these, and I hate to say it, segregated ways of thinking that we can only exist in this space if we have this amount of money or with this color. No, there's power in number and there's power in community. And so building a solid community of all ethnicities, all races, all financial backgrounds, that's why I really feel like we have the advantage, because we're open to that. I'm not eliminating them out of the equation. So, I'm loving it. I mean, I co-sign DAISHA Board Gallery all day, every day.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful outro, but
yeah.
You know me, I'm gonna take one step further before we get out of here, guys. Just for, this is just for our community. We like to leave with some gem or a favorite quote. It's up to you if you want to share, one of your favorite quotes that kind of help you get through tough times, or if you want to share a piece of advice to help somebody get through tough times. I think that's a perfect way to, segue this amazing co-sign conversations interview.
I can't really remember what Jay-Z said verbatim, but it's basically, don't let anyone project their fears on you. When I opened this gallery, even the thought of opening a gallery, I had family and friends, and I lost friends who didn't see the value in what I wanted, didn't see my vision, and that's okay. It's my vision, right? And so, but that fear that they tried to project on me, it didn't stop me. And a lot of times it stops people from pursuing their dreams and pursuing their passion, and they get stuck in a career that they're miserable in, that they're depressed, and they don't feel like they have any self-worth. This is my worth. This is my family's legacy. It doesn't even feel like work to me. I enjoy it. It's, it's fulfilling. There's a purpose there. And so if you find that purpose, that fear and all the negative, comments that come behind it, or the hate, I'm focused. I'm laser focused on building here. So whatever you're thinking and saying, I sage you down, I sage me down, I'm protected,
Them
right?
little
So
jabs don't do
yeah,
shit.
yeah. So don't let people project their fear on you.
Someone once told me your idea starts and stops with the first person you tell. Because the first person you tell could love it, and it'll inspire you to keep going, or they may hate it, and it could make you not want to pursue it. So we do have to watch who we tell our dreams and our goals to.
And keep some of that stuff under wraps. Not everything, like I said, is for the gram. When I was building this, I mean, I vocally said it to myself every time I listened to Guapel, Closer.
Yeah.
Every single day. My kids were like, why are you still playing this song?
Closer to
but I was closer like every day I was getting closer to my dream of making this happen. And when I opened these doors and my name is on this gallery, that was a moment, right? And so, I'll always be rooted in making sure that, anything that I'm visualizing, I can do. I'm gonna manifest that shit.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna manifest this shit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Co-Sign Conversations.
Thank y'all.
We had an amazing time. If you're
I could live here.
I know.
Okay.
If you're in the Dallas area, please stop by and
Pull up.
visit. Follow on Instagram at DAISHA Board Gallery. Do your research, do your due diligence, tap into the community and the culture. And as always, we co-sign DAISHA Board, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Peace.